right, everybody. Welcome back to the Oh Donna Podcast. Sorry for the little hiatus. I was moving and now I'm back. Today we have an amazing guest. His name is Pat Miletich. He's an American mixed martial artist. He became the first UFC welterweight champion. Pat is a wonderful father, a fantastic trainer. And I first came across Pat about 4 years ago from his podcast he shared with Jeffrey Wilson called Conspiracy Farm. And through that podcast, it helped me prepare for today's circus. And I'm so grateful for the two of them and to be speaking with Pat Miletich today. Today, we're going to discuss a little bit of the current events, Black Oxygen, and what Pat's got going on. Pat, how are you?
Good, Donna. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Last time I talked, you were moving. Are you getting all settled with that, or are you all done with that?
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm sitting there thinking I'm working on a lot of new projects, of course, with Black Oxygen, and then a friend of mine and I, who's a combat veteran, we're talking about putting together training for civilians that are specifically, hyper-focused on the world today and how people can take care of themselves. And Jake Priest is his name, and he's an amazing firearms expert and instructor and tactics. It's not just, he's a combat veteran, so he knows what he's doing, and he's an excellent firearms instructor as well. So I will teach the caveman part of it and teach people how to take care of themselves, and including weapon retention and some edged weapon stuff. But we feel we can teach people up pretty quick. So.
Yeah, where would that be? So people, if they want to do that,
that'll be here in Iowa, in the Quad Cities, in the Bettendorf Davenport area. Okay. So we'll be doing that, and we're putting everything together right now. So we're excited about that. I've done a lot of teaching over the years. I've helped a few fighters. I still do seminars and things like that, but instructing, teaching, that's really what I enjoy the most.
That's great. Do you want to talk a little bit about Black Oxygen too? I know you were doing that.
Yeah, for me, the way I look at it is I've always looked for the best supplements in the world, because one time being a professional fighter, I had to be in good shape, obviously, a level of shape that I'm not going to get tired in a 25-minute all-out, war with a guy who's trained to do the same thing to me, right? So you've just got to reach a different level of, endurance, strength, the combination of that, plus a lot of knowledge that you have to gain over a lot of years of learning the techniques and, how your body works. Everybody's different, strength and endurance. There's a fine line that you have to find there with the body, and everybody's different. You have to figure it out. But I was on a product when I was a professional athlete that was only 20% more oxygen at a cellular level, but that healed my respiratory system. I had black mold damage to my respiratory system. So I was a horrible when it came to endurance. When I'd wrestle, I'd try and build up huge leads on people because I knew in the third period, got the cat going. So I had trouble with endurance, and then I got on this product back then, and that was only 20% more oxygen at a cellular level, but it healed my respiratory system and allowed me to train like a psychopath and do things that I never dreamed of doing endurance-wise. And that was only 20% more oxygen. When I heard about Black Oxygen, it was 45%, up to 45% more oxygen at a cellular level. And given the time going into what we're dealing with, and people, who are having trouble with oxygen levels right now when they get sick, the respiratory system, the respiratory illness that's going around, and people are basically suffocating.
Yeah.
And I thought the timing of this couldn't be any better. It's going to help athletes. It's going to help people with a lot of a variety of sicknesses, and an oxygen-rich environment makes it very difficult for disease to exist and sickness to exist. And then it's nanotechnology created by God. So it can penetrate the cells and leave the cells. So when it goes in, it delivers the oxygen and the nutrients to the mitochondria. And then when it leaves, it chelates or pulls out the heavy metals and toxins out of the cells. So therefore allowing the body to really heal. It resets the gut bacteria and also resets the hormonal system, which women love, because a lot of people aren't aware that the shampoos, the conditioners, the deodorants that they're using have chemicals in it that raise estrogen levels and lower testosterone levels, and also affect the thyroid. And I've had a lot of people who have had their blood tested, and their hormones are way out of whack. The levels are out of whack, and this helps level all that stuff back out. And people absolutely love it. So,
oh, good. Let us know about what you have going on with Jason Burmis. I know you were talking about the Conscious Resistance Tour. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's tomorrow. Derek Bros is going to be in town, and Derek's going to also perform. I think he's going to do a few songs, and there's several other speakers, but they roped the guy that got punched in the head for a living into talking, and so I'm going to jump on there and do some speaking. And my thing is in the beginning of all of this, we were fed the same information by the media, and some people reacted with fear because they thought they were going to die, right? They didn't want their family members to die and things like that. And of course, none of us do. I know people that have died of this.
Yeah.
But for those of us who paid attention and really studied history and know not just the fact that 6 million Jewish people and other people, Polish and many others, were basically put in concentration camps and murdered, it has to go deeper than that. Why? Why were they killed? What was the propaganda used to create that environment that allowed for the German citizens to allow the slaughter of innocent human beings? Well, and when you look at it closely, you realize that the German newspapers basically portrayed Jewish citizens as rats, as disease carriers, and unclean. And so the parallels between now and then are pretty easy to see for people who pay attention to things. So I just have spoken out a lot about this, and I've of course paid a price for it. I lost a broadcasting job because of it, and a lot of people have lost everything as well. Think of all the nurses across the country. Yeah. Think of the doctors across the country, and all those people with other jobs within the government and the military who are walking away from their jobs or being fired. There's a lot of people willing to stand up at any cost because they know history as well, right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's very important. And it's the Conscious Resistance Tour. It starts at 4:00 tomorrow down at Front Street Brewery here in Davenport, Iowa, and it'll go till 10 p.m. And we're just speaking from a point now of love. I mean, everybody reacted out of fear, which converted to acting out of love. I love my children. I don't want them to get sick. I don't know what's in the injection. I would rather.
Oh, you're cutting out.
I'm also pretty healthy.
Losing you.
And the other people the other folks that to get the injection. But there's a line being crossed.
Oh man, you sound like a robot right now. Dang it.
Sorry, what?
Oh, it was roboting out, but I hear you now. It's okay.
Okay.
It's bad service.
It's very important to understand that individual sovereignty and autonomy is the last frontier of freedom. Yeah. Once that's crossed, we're done. We're absolutely done. So that's important. And the people that are trying to force this on us, look, they love their family, they love their community, they love their country. They actually think that they're doing the right thing by forcing others to do as they say. But at some point, people have to take a step back and realize that at no point in history have the most powerful people in the world who sit in the ivory towers ever been benevolent beings. Yeah. They've never been caring, loving people. They're the people that have always caused the wars. Mm-hmm. They're the people that have always destroyed humanity. That's the way they operate.
I think people forget that Nazis are still alive and well. They're just in different bodysuits. Do you want to talk about some of the Nazi bloodline that's still out, like Clabby Swabby and Schwarzenegger?
Yeah, well, that's the thing is Mayor de Blasio, Bill de Blasio.
Yeah.
His real name is William Wilhelm II. And when people research the Wilhelm family name, they'll realize that is a royal family from Germany.
Yes, Arnold Schwarzenegger being in a position of influence that he is. Yes, his father was a brown shirt, and there's many others. They were all allowed to clip when we were, of course, and the Russians as well. Sorry about the train. I'm down by the river here, but the list goes on and on of people in positions of power. The officers of the state party and officers became officers.
Now, pretty bad.
Many of the people that were war, right?
I didn't hear that last part. I'm sorry.
What I was saying is many of the leaders of the SS were brought in and were suddenly in positions of power with the United Nations after World War II.
Oh, yeah.
So people can research all of this stuff. I'd love for people to try and prove me wrong.
Yeah. Now, for people, I don't have kids, but it just breaks my heart for what's going on, what they're doing with the kids. What would you recommend for people that are trying to fight back, and then those who are willingly participating in all of this malarkey? Like, what would you say to them?
Well, the level of psychological operations that this is, a lot of these people simply just don't see it. And I had a dream yesterday. Yesterday, it was about probably 5 a.m. I fell back to sleep. And I had 2 dreams, actually, kind of back to back. One was that I was fighting 2 Goliaths back to back. And then I somehow transitioned into a dream where I walked into a giant room with a bunch of guys sitting in 3-piece suits. And I recognized that I was there for a job interview. And I looked down at myself and I had on flip-flops, baggy sweatpants, and a wife beater. So obviously I felt very uncomfortable in my dream because I was not dressed for a job interview. But there were brown shoes and brown hats all over the floor. They were scattered everywhere. And for whatever reason, I was organizing them and putting all the shoes against the wall in pairs and hanging up all the hats. And then the next thing I know, I'm in a job interview with 2 people in suits. And they said that was a test. And they said, you're the person for the job. You're hired. And I woke up. And then right after that, I got the message, the saying that many have heard the beginning of, that says, and it made me laugh. It made me realize how easy it is for me to see through all this stuff. Said, Satan whispered in my ear, you can't handle the storm. And what followed was different than I'd ever seen. It said, that may be so, but at least I wasn't dumb enough to lose my golden fiddle to a hillbilly in southern Georgia. And I laughed. And it just kind of made me realize how easily I've seen through all of this stuff even before it even started, and said at least a year out that it was going to start in 2020. It's for people, when I look at the people that allow the abuse of their children, it's sad. It's very sad. And I can only pray for those people. I can see how people look at me, because you have to understand, I grew up in this town. A lot of people know me. At one time, a lot of kids looked up to me, all that sort of stuff. Parents were always very nice to me. And since I've been outspoken about this, a lot of those parents, they've got masks on. They look at me, they're terrified, they're angry. And it's sad to see. It's sad to see, because they just don't want to come to the conclusion that they were wrong, that their belief system, that somehow all the people in control actually care about us. That's a hard for people to come to that. And I've seen people coming to that conclusion finally. And it's got to be extremely painful. Yeah. Certainly more painful than me watching a slow motion train wreck from a year before this starting, right?
Right, yeah.
So that's the thing, is I can only pray for those people. And I just can only educate people as much as I can and hopefully appeal to them. I can't be mad at them. But it is frustrating, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So. My mom got the what were you calling it? The boo boop be doop. I listened to your live the other day. I'm like,
oh, I get that from Jay Burmas calls it the boopity boop.
I haven't heard that one. I like it. I've heard the Jabberwocky. Oops, hopefully I don't get censored for that, but I like the boo boopy doop or boo boo, whatever it is. Yeah,
Boopity boop.
yeah. My mom got the boopity boop. So all I can do is pray that the boopity boop was a fake one, you know?
Yes, let's hope that I'm sure that there is a certain number that, you know, were just sugar water, right?
Yeah, yeah. I think the first
Salt
round.
water, whatever. And so, you know, that the placebos, there had to be a lot of them, but I worry about their immune system come flu season and all of that. So it remains to be seen, right? It remains to be seen. But people have fallen for this hook, line, and sinker so severely that the country's, I mean, think about the economy and how badly what we're headed for if people continue to buy into this, right? And the national security crisis, this is the worst ever with the military. A lot of people walking away from the military and government jobs and nurses and doctors, and it's a serious. This is.
Do you have any?
I can't think of any time in history.
Yeah. Do you
What's
have any
that?
friends in the military that you know that expressed to you them walking away or anything?
I have. Yes, I have some relatives in the military. I won't say where they're at or anything like that, but yeah, they're going to have to walk away because, you know, and on top of that, you look at the college athletes. The NCAA is putting pressure on sports programs around the country, saying that 85% of all student athletes have to be vaccinated. And obviously the NCAA is being pressured by the government. Our government officials are being pressured by those above them who control all of them. And, you know, you've got a lot of kids that are walking away. You know, they're walking away from college. They're walking away from, you know, their dream. This is destruction of a nation and of a world beyond imagination. And the fact that people can't see that, again, is so perplexing to me, because it's so, for some of us like you and I, it's so clear.
Yeah.
It's so clear.
I mean, a lot of the spell casting with Hollywood really does work because it's got them in such a mind spell. It's disturbing to watch people who actually enjoy people like, you know, Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel and like, oh, this is great. And I watch that and I want to throw up and like throw my TV out. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. No, it is a cult. It is man, what a masterful job they've done though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got to applaud them for the number of people that bought into this. It's masterfully done and truly evil.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the people. I find that it's a lot of the people that see through it were people that maybe were kids in school who are not easy to, you know. I was certainly a kid that was kind of, why the hell am I even here? This is complete bullshit.
Yeah,
right?
in all the sped classes, the slow classes.
I was never in slow classes, but
No.
I can tell you this, that, you know, I had a problem with authority. I had a big problem with authority. And that came from my childhood and things that happened to my family by people of positions of control and power. You know, my two oldest brothers were molested by a Catholic priest. And, you know, both of them ended up, you know, when they were young. I was much younger than them. So I was spared that. But, you know, in their 30s, they both ended up committing suicide. So for me, from a very early age, I understood that evil roamed the planet and many times dressed in angel's garb, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I look at the world through a different lens than many people who have had that upbringing of, you know, mom and dad and everything was good and you know, 2 cars in the garage and all that. I wasn't raised with that. You know, I grew up poor. I grew up with my mom. Thankfully, my mother was an amazing human being and showed me a lot of love. So, you know, that's the thing is I look at the world in a totally different way than Bill over here next to me, who's had a normal, you know, upbringing and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Pat, Thank you so much. I don't want to take up too much of your time. It looks like you're driving and I want you to to get to where you're going.
No, I'm sitting in my truck. I am sweating my tail off though. It's hot out. So
Oh, well, go get some fresh air. And thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I'm happy we finally got to do this podcast.
yeah. Thank you, Donna. You need to have you had Jason on yet, Burmis?
No, well, I'll have to reach out to him.
You should.
Yeah.
He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's really smart too. So I got to pick his brain. All right,
All right,
Pat,
you take care.
you have a wonderful day. Good luck tomorrow.
Okay, bye-bye.